Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Last night, we left off talking about L Brands, Victoria's Secret, and the imminent sale of Victoria's Secret to the Sycamore Group. Well, I've received an email from one of my sources on Wall Street, and they say that it's all engines go, and it's looking like tomorrow will be the day. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see what happens in the boardroom, because we understand, of course, with people like this, anything can happen in the 11th hour. When you're dealing with all of these kind of egos inside of a boardroom, things can go south. But from what I'm hearing, it's a done deal. Sycamore Partners is going to purchase Victoria's Secret, and Les Wexner is out. And even, say the deal falls apart at the 11th hour, right? Say something happens and the deal does not go through. Well, whoever they sell Victoria's Secret to, the same stipulation is going to be in place. Les Wexner has to go. There's no way anybody is going to take on the toxicity that comes with Les Wexner right now, amidst the fallout of not only the Jeffrey Epstein situation, but the fact that there was, company-wide, basically, abuse by executives towards these models. Nobody wants to deal with that right now, especially in the environment that we're in, where people are starting to realize that the scrutiny's coming hot and heavy. Just take a look. Glenn Dubin, Les Wexner, Jess Staley, Prince Andrew, and the list goes on and on and on. And what happens is these companies that are, these hedge funds and these, financial companies that buy up other companies, well, they're doing that to make a profit. They're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing it because they believe that the product could be profitable. And there is no way that the product would ever be profitable again with Les Wexner at the helm, and they understand that. So any deal that they make, Sycamore or anybody else for that matter, is contingent on the fact that Les Wexner is no longer part of Victoria's Secret. And I have to be honest with you, it's such a good move, right? It's a great move for not only the companies buying up Victoria's Secret, but it's great for the survivors as well, and for people who are searching for justice in this case, because you get to see, well, there is some consequence here at least. Now, obviously, they're not in handcuffs or anything like that, but I've said it a million times. You take away the social power of these people, you take away their ability to mingle with their other so-called elite buddies, and that's just as bad as putting these people in prison, because they thrive on power. That's how they get off, having power. And if they're not in these circles anymore and they can't, lay their influence over people and make people do what they want them to do anymore, it's like taking away a 15-year-old kid's cell phone. It's going to be bad news. And it's a good first step, but it's not enough. I want these people in prison for what they have done. So this morning's article, we're going to jump back over and talk a little bit more about Peter Nygard and what his production assistant had to say. So we'll see what's up. This is an article from the Mirror. The headline is, Accused Billionaire's PA Questions Why Prince Andrew Mixes with Sleazy Men. Yeah, it's a question we all have. The article was written by Christopher Buckton. Prince Andrew's association with two billionaires accused of raping teenagers has led the British personal assistant of one to question the royals' morality. Canadian Peter Nygard, 77, was last week accused in a class action lawsuit in the U.S. of sexually assaulting 10 girls. And now remember, if you missed it, if you've been living under a rock for the last couple of days, Prince Andrew, Fergie, and their kids went and stayed at Nygard K with this gentleman in 2000. So, again, Prince Andrew spending time with another man who was allegedly a pedophile. What does that say about the judgment of Prince Andrew? Furthermore, what sort of man brings his family to visit a guy like this? You're not going to tell me nobody heard any rumors, there was no talk, there was no scuttlebutt. I'm not believing that. These rich people know everything about each other for the most part, all right? They're all fellow travelers. They all have the same, interests and dislikes and the same kind of lifestyles, obviously. I mean, if you look at this Peter Nygard's lifestyle, it absolutely 100% mirrors Jeffrey Epstein's. The only difference is Peter Nygard wasn't being protected by intelligence, at least that we know of. London-born Victoria Sarn has told how the life of her ex-boss Nygard often mirrored that of the U.S. financier, pedophile, Epstein. She said during her time as his former PA in the 1990s, she saw countless girls arriving at his offices in Toronto, LA, and the Bahamas before they were taken to his private quarters. Now, this is important. The 1990s, she saw all of this going on in the 1990s. Now, Prince Andrew came and hung out with him in the year 2000. So what we have established here is this pattern was already occurring before Prince Andrew was even at his house. So I don't want to hear, oh, I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea. You're the Prince of England. That is not an excuse. You don't have an investigative team that searches out the people who you're hanging out with to make sure that they're not going to tarnish your reputation. I'm sure you do have that, but you probably put them on the back burner as well and said, you know what? These are the people I want to hang out with. I don't need your help, okay? And it seems to me that Prince Andrew is running out of excuses for his behavior, folks. Victoria, 79, said, he'd attach his homes to his offices, often with a glass elevator. His private spaces were all fitted with mirrors. There were no door handles. They seemed impossible to get out of. Peter monitored everything with closed-circuit TV. Who does that sound like, folks? It sounds like they went to the same exact class of scumbaggery. I wonder if Wexner is like the grand leader of scumbaggery and they all come and train under him. Honestly, though, could this be any more similar to what Jeffrey Epstein was up to? And to think, both of these men were engaged in a reign of terror for decades, and people obviously knew he was hanging out, this Nygard guy was hanging out with every single star you can possibly imagine. Even loudmouth Robert De Niro was hanging out down there. Everyone could be watched. It didn't matter who you were, a Hollywood star, a sporting icon, or from the royal family. Peter could see and record their every move. He was sleazy. Like Epstein, he courted anyone in power who had great fame. They may as well have been brothers. And from the more I read it, look, I'll be honest with you, I had no idea who Peter Nygard was for the most part until recently. I don't really, I've never really dug into like the fashion industry or anything like that. Like I've told you guys, before this Jeffrey Epstein case rolled along, my entire focus as far as professionally when it comes to, journalism or politics or anything like that was the Near East policy in the Middle East. That's where I cut my teeth. But once the Epstein situation rolled around and I started researching the Epstein situation, and then I started, diving and, delving into other areas, you start reading some of these stories and these situations about guys like Nygard and Epstein, and it's crazy how, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's crazy how prevalent it is, and it's right in front of our faces. It's very brazen, and unless we're looking for it, we never know, because the media refuses to report on this sort of stuff. They're always protecting their rich friends. Victoria said she believed the two men never associated with each other. She added, "I never met the prince, but it seems Andrew likes the company of such rich men." It raises serious questions about his judgment on the company he keeps. And again, about Epstein and Nygard meeting, I have a hard time believing that they have never met before. Two billionaires, both hanging out with Andrew in the same time frame, both guys running in circles of billionaires in New York City. I don't believe that they didn't associate. I have no evidence to back that up. I'm doing some research into that right now. I'm trying to shake a couple of trees and see what I can turn up. But it's a hard pill for me to swallow to think that these two guys never associated with each other. Now, I'm not saying that they were involved with trafficking women together. Not at all. There's no evidence for that. But to think that these guys never associated with each other, I have a hard time believing that. Nygard was accused in a New York court of plying girls with booze and drugs before they were raped and sexually assaulted between 2008 and 2015. 3 of the claimants were 14 years old at the time. 3 others were 15 years old. The fashion mogul, who has denied all the allegations, hosted Andrew at his home in the Bahamas in 2000. There is no suggestion the Duke, 59, knew of Nygard's alleged criminality. No criminal charges are associated with any allegations against Nygard. You know what? There's no evidence that the Duke knew of Nygard's alleged criminality, but there's certainly a suggestion, right? He knew what Epstein was up to. What's to say he didn't know what Nygard was up to? See, this is what happens. He has proven himself to be unreliable, Prince Andrew. He has proven himself to be a liar. So now the burden of proof is on him. He needs to prove that he didn't know at this point, okay? Because that's what happens when you're not an honest man. That's what happens when you don't come forward and you don't speak to the authorities. Then you're judged. You're judged by the evidence that's provided and that's public, and the public will judge you for what you have done or for what they believe you have done. You can't run around and be involved in sex trafficking operations, be involved in, assaulting women, being an enabler to Jeffrey Epstein. You can't run around and be involved in all of this and not think there's going to be consequences and not think that people are going to look at you sideways and have predetermined opinions of who you are and what sort of character you possess. That's your fault, Prince Andrew, nobody else's. Andrew was one of many famous names, including Robert De Niro and actresses Pamela Anderson and Sulin Medeiros, pictured with Nygard. Again, just because people were pictured with him or on the island or on his island visiting, that does not make them, involved in whatever he was doing. The thing with Andrew is what this is, it gives us more meat on the bone. It shows us more of the kind of person Andrew is, the kind of person that he liked to hang around. And that's crucial going forward, considering Prince Andrew is a target of suspicion, a target in this criminal case, okay? So this is very important. Now, the other, the pictures with, Pamela Anderson or even loudmouth De Niro, that doesn't mean that they were involved in anything. And if Andrew wasn't under the scope for his involvement with Epstein already, I would shake my head at this and say, man, that's terrible decision making. He should never be hanging out with a guy like this. But if there wasn't already this stink hanging around him, this wouldn't be such a big deal. This wouldn't have to be blown up and explored more. But unfortunately, Prince Andrew's life choices and the people he has chosen to associate with and the activities he has chosen to be associated with have opened him up to this sort of scrutiny. Last year, the prince stepped down from royal duties. When approached about Nygard, a spokeswoman for Buckingham Palace said, "It is not something we are offering comment or guidance on." I think you should worry about offering guidance to Prince Andrew on not being a scumbag. Worry about that, all right? Buckingham Palace? What is going on in Buckingham Palace? I honestly believe that we're witnessing the royal family in their death throes. I have to believe that there are other claimants to the crown, and the other claimants to the crown are getting together and looking at each other and saying to themselves, you know what? If the monarchy falls, then we'll slide in and we'll be the new royals. There's all sorts of court intrigue, I'm sure. Just we might not hear about it, but I'm sure it's occurring. Because what's going on right now with the royal family, I highly doubt that they're going to be able to survive this, folks. I think that when all is said and done and everything, is on the table and we truly see what Andrew is and we see how he was protected and it was covered up by Buckingham Palace for decades, I think the people are going to truly, truly revolt. And I have a hard time believing that the monarchy is going to survive this. All right, folks. Well, I will be back later on tonight with the Daily Drop. Hope everybody enjoys their President's Day holiday if you're in America. And, I'll be back tonight with the Daily Drop, and we'll keep it rocking. All right, everybody. Enjoy your day. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. And if you would like to help support the podcast, you can do that by clicking the GoFundMe link inside of the description box. All right, everybody. Talk to you later.